Welcome back to Heart Powered Conversations. Today, I have a very special guest, my dear friend Mary. Mary happens to be my compass, my the cord that often pulls me and connects me to the earth. She's the one that will tell me to not look 100 steps forward, but to focus on the one thing today. And at the same time, Mary is super connected, super embodied, and just a superhuman. I love her dearly, and I'm so excited to have her here today to share with you. She is a dynamic transformation catalyst dedicated to supporting individuals and organizations in reaching their next level of growth. She has a wealth of tools that she utilizes, human design being one of them that we'll talk about today. And having done a soul magic reading for Mary and having seen behind the scenes of who she has this crazy gift to seeing the structures and the orchestration and movement of things behind the scene, whether it's in organizations, how systems and structures work, or in a human with the mind body connection and all of that. So we're gonna get started because this is going to be a very, very fun, very informative, very grounding, but very practical grounding of spirituality. That's what I'm hearing as one of the big themes. So welcome, Mary. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to have you here finally, because I feel like we've been trying to organize this forever, and it's finally here.
Hi, Kat. Oh my goodness, that introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you. So happy.
So you were not always in this role of transformation catalyst, utilizing mind body connection tools, human design, talking about spirituality to individuals. How did you go from working in corporate, in a big roles in corporate, working with engineers and all the things that you used to do? I don't know if you want to go into that. You could touch on it. But how was the transformation journey? How does one go from that to this without without losing their marbles? Because I know of some of us lost their marbles in the way. You didn't. You did it with so much grace and poise. So please do share.
I feel like sometimes I lost my marbles, but let's see. So, yeah, I spent about 15 years in corporate and I'm an engineer by background. So, I was in very technical spaces, really in manufacturing. So, the technical of the technical, right? Like production and everything. And, short answer is I don't necessarily know how it happened, but long answer, I'd say it really evolved over time. I resisted a lot in the beginning, but I just kept trying to follow what felt most aligned to me. And even though I wasn't thinking of it in those terms at the time, I tried to follow what brought me the most joy, what gave me the most excitement, and tried to see, like, okay, where would that take me? So even when I still had my corporate job, I started a business on the side. I sold postpartum mesh underwear because I had my first daughter and I thought, why aren't these underwear available to everyone after, right? Like I had a C-section, it was a whole thing. And I just had this idea that, hey, like this needs to be on the market for other women. I felt very passionately about it. And so it kind of started, that's probably where it all started, right? Like my rebirth with the birth of my first daughter. And from there, I just tried to keep following whatever came next, like whatever felt good to me, whatever felt interesting. And for a while, I still had my day job. And then I eventually moved on from it when I felt like, okay, I can't. When I was really like cracking, I let myself really crack first, right? Even my body started to show me signs. And then finally I said, okay, I can't do this anymore. and then moved on from that to kind of expand into other areas. And even along the way for that, which we can get into some of that, it's like these last years have really evolved more and more and shaped me more and more. So,
Do you find that the cracking open has to happen for most of us, that like life kind of orchestrates that for us?
I mean, yes and no, because I feel that if you're really paying attention, you don't have to crack or you don't have to crack as hard. But then there's some of us that don't pay enough attention and resist and kind of
Resist, resist.
I feel
Hold
like,
on to the old for dear life.
yeah, yeah, kicking and screaming. And then you really crack.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you and I met in Egypt on a pilgrimage that was held by Sarah and I Soleil, and we we connected on the bus of all the things, and then stayed as we we looked at each other when she said, "Okay, pick your integration partner." And we kind of locked eyes and had
Yes.
our first call when we got back. And fast forward to over more than a year later, we still hold an integration call once a week religiously. I'll say there's so many things that I drop and kind of, drop the ball on. This call, we're pretty religious about it every week. So, and I bow to you for being the anchor of it, because sometimes I'm not flaky, but sometimes I try to fly away. Anyways, my point here being, besides telling the story of our friendship and relationship, what role do, in your opinion, do others play on our journeys, on our awakening journeys, on our journey of getting to know ourselves better, on the journey of revealing ourselves, and all the things, the human experience of people?
Great question. Yeah. Every single person you meet is there for a reason. Every single person. I don't care who it is or what they're doing. Like, and when you can zoom out and really see things differently, you can see how every person's role shifts and change and interacts with different people. So what do I mean by that? I basically anyone you meet is either there's a reason you're meeting them. It's either because you're learning something from them, you're there to teach them something else, or you are sometimes I think, oh, okay, this is coming up again, but I'm in a different place. I'm a different person now, so I can see this situation differently. And so then it's like a practice. It's like your next level practice of seeing, can you embody? Did you really learn and take away what you what happened last time, right? To this time. But yeah, I really try to really appreciate all the interactions and really watch and see, okay, what is here for me? What is here for me to learn? What is here for me to embody? What is here for me to practice in some way? Or and sometimes it'll be I'll realize after, oh, actually I was helping that person in some way, even if I didn't recognize it at the time, right? And connecting to our friendship, I mean, I think our friendship is beautiful in so many ways. And really, I felt so connected to you because we've talked about before, we have this like, what phrase the thing that's coming to me is dance of opposites, but we're not necessarily opposites, but it's this like pull and the different layers and the elements and everything and how we kind of are complementary to each other in a lot of ways. And I think there's on this journey and and as you evolve as a person, it's really important to have those people in your life too. So it's not just about the lessons and all of the things, but it's also how do your relationships change over the course of time as you evolve? And then do you always have people in your life that are supportive to this next and newer version of yourself. Because let's be honest, a lot of the people along the way, when they see you change, it changes things, you know?
Yeah. The Not everyone is here to be on this ride with you forever, right? But the key
Right.
people that come in that really, yeah, at the key times, the pivotal times, and you learn to recognize that there is that soul connection with, especially with sisters. I find that it becomes
Yeah.
very clear that we have that. Okay, so how does human design help you see each individual the way that you just described? I feel like there's a lens of human design that plays into seeing each individual as someone with their unique gifts, their unique pitfalls, or their unique.
Yeah. It I love human design because it's a map and a blueprint and a tool that can be used, you know, and it shows a lot about people's energy, where they might have strengths, and even in terms of like pitfalls, I would say it's more like, where don't they have consistent energy? Where are the areas that's not really in their work that they're here to do, kind of thing, you know, because we each have our own unique essence. And I think a lot of the times it's really easy to get tripped up on what other people are doing, or see what you don't have in yourself in some way, or compare to other people. And using a tool like human design can help to highlight, oh, actually, these are the areas where I have my gifts. These are the areas where I bring my most consistent energy and outlook in a way that someone else doesn't, and not good or bad or right or wrong, but just how can we each embrace ourselves. So I love it for that. And being a technical person behind the scenes, it's a map that has really showed me a lot of things. And now I'm able to yeah, see it a little bit differently now that I've studied it for a while. But I would say that's the biggest thing, especially if people are feeling stuck and not sure where they're going, or thinking that they should do a certain thing or should show up a certain way. It's like, actually, let's take a look at this, because really it's another version of a permission slip. Like, look, here, explore these areas, because these are things you might really find some power in for yourself, that that maybe you're holding yourself back from, you know?
Yeah, thank you for explaining it so eloquently. I think a lot of the people are being called to human design, astrology, gene keys, all of these modalities to really understand themselves better. And sometimes we get lost in identification with them too much, and we don't see them as, like you said, that permission slip, that map to saying green light, red light, what's using it as a tool to identify what's for me and what's not for me. And I think it's really interesting. I'd like to sort of share the story of how you ended up in incorporating human design into your work, because when we met, you were a very committed student of it, and you were using it for yourself and your business and all the things, and coaching me with it, reflecting it back to me. But you weren't offering it as a service to clients yet. And I remember when that happened, it was I think it's a good story to tell, because it's something that so many people, like before we started recording, I said so many people are sitting on their hands. I literally see the listeners sitting on their hands, waiting for a permission or waiting for something. And I think when you tell this story, somebody might literally get off their hands and press publish or do the thing, because the way that you followed the energy with that, and the way that you allowed yourself to evolve, is the perfect example of how we're here to navigate this journey, really. If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, no, of course not. Thank you. Yeah, my love of human design started for myself a few years ago. And I didn't think that I would use it for anything else. I just found it for me to be very powerful, for me to really recognize and realize places that I was not in alignment with myself, right? So it really highlighted to me, oh, actually, and it's crazy sometimes when I look at it because so for example, I'm a projector, and when I first learned about the energy related to projectors and being invited and waiting for the invitation, right? So each of the types has a different style and approach that they're meant to use energetically. And I really resonated with it and felt seen by it because I had not been doing that. And I had been feeling a lot of challenges around it and bitterness, which that's what really got me because there's a not self theme for each of the energy types. And the not self theme for projectors is bitterness because we overshare and then feel like we're not getting something in return when really we weren't invited to share in the first place. So it's a whole thing, right? And I felt like, oh wow, yeah, that resonates with my life. So I started learning it from selfishly for myself and then eventually also for my household. I said, okay, let me see my husband's chart. Let me see. I have two daughters, like both of their charts, and just kind of like following it in terms of, wow, this is so interesting. Wow, this is how this shows up, or that's how that looks, that kind of thing. And I eventually signed up to take a very in-depth course about it, a class, and I still study it now because it's something that I just really it just opened my eyes and I could see a lot of it around me, right? And it was like another type of puzzle or another type of map. And I am someone that likes puzzles and likes maps. So it's kind of incorporating some of that technical side of me with the spiritual side of me and all of those things. And what I eventually realized is, hey, I love this so much. It's a big part of what has helped me to live a more authentic life. Because at the end of the day, you can use any tool for anything, but it's like, what do you do with it? And how do you integrate that into your life, right? So it was helping me to live more aligned to myself, my true nature, and basically to bring myself more joy in my life, in my relationships, in my work, and all of the things. And so then I started connecting that with a lot of the mind body work that I was doing. And I had been doing my own exercises and using the mind body practitioner and all of these things and kind of seeing how basically like human design is another version of that, really getting out of the mind, connecting back into your body and connecting more to that heart and soul and essence of who you are. And so then I eventually said, okay, actually I'm gonna start using this in my business too because I love it so much. So I started doing readings and I was very gradual with it because I was like, oh, I don't know. It feels weird to do it. And when you come from, let's say, a pretty technical, tangible, practical background, it can seem really strange to go in and use some of these other tools, right? But I started doing readings and it eventually led me to the readings grew over time and I had people really say some beautiful things about how it helped them see something in themselves or something in one of their family members or whatever it was. And then I eventually more recently earlier this year held a workshop on decision making and because I really believe so much of the world is disconnected. They're disconnected from themselves. And how can we each get back and connect more with who we are? Because that's where our gifts are. That's where the joy is that we can share with others. And that's how we can have more deeply fulfilling lives in so many ways. So I held a workshop on decision making because for me that's one of the earlier steps is okay, how are we making decisions right now? Are you making a decision because you think you should do it because your neighbor next door is doing the same thing, or are you making a decision because it's really what you feel is most aligned for you? So it's been a ride for sure, but I feel really proud of it, proud of the evolution and proud to just like tell myself to keep going because it's so easy to stop, and it's so easy to say, actually, no, I don't think I should do this. Oh, what will people think? What will people think if I do this or if I do that? And it's not about anybody else except yourself. That's really what it comes down to. So you have to really get grounded in that reality that you're doing these things for yourself and to expand your life, and because you deserve it, because you're here to be you. And so what are the ways that you can do that? And for me, human design was one of those things and one of those tools that now I use with clients because it is just it's a really great tool and a really great map to help people at least get centered in something. And to what you said earlier about, yeah, people can make stories about things. And I'm very adamant, like human design, like anything else, it's a tool. Like, I don't want to hear you say, like, oh, well, I'm XYZ because of my human design. It's like, no, you can see that that's part of who you are, but you choose the story that you tell yourself, and how you use that information. I think that's really important. It's the same with any other tool. And I've done a lot of other tools. I've been practitioner of other tools, and it still comes down to, yeah, what are the stories you're telling yourself? So all of that to say, yeah, it's integrated for me over time as something that I just kept following the breadcrumbs of, I love this, I enjoy it, I'm evolving with it, and let's see where it goes. But it can feel very hard in the moment for sure.
Oh yeah. And watching you from the sidelines. I remember you posted, said, "All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to post about it on LinkedIn." And one of the platforms that you exist on because of the background and all the things, right? And then next thing I know, I have a voice note from you saying, 3 people signed up. I'm so excited. And I was like, I would just like to reflect back to you how excited you are about this. It's not about the money, it's about like the prospect of doing this and sharing this and bringing this into people's awareness and into their lives and giving them the freedom and the tools and all the things. And you were like, yeah, I keep going with it. I keep, and it's we can push and we can overthink. And I think you and I are like, oh, let's create a course for this or this for that. And it's like, no, like my dear friend Karen, if you're listening, shout out to you. I use this saying that you shared with me one day. Follow the energy. Just follow the energy. Follow the energy. Like and human design helps you understand your energy, not in a energy healing, woo, somebody might be going to, if somebody rejects that piece of it, but really seeing it as as a roadmap, as an operating manual, whatever, what's the word?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like blueprint,
For
or yeah,
blueprint
yeah.
for your body. Yeah. And I love that there is human design and it's all layered, right? It's astrology, it's human design, and then it's gene keys, which gene keys can take you from human design even further into the highest expression of all the things that make you you. How do you then evolve them into the highest expression and keep rising up even further in the consciousness spiral, the evolution spiral? The workshop that you did, was it a one-time thing or are you going to do it again?
Oh yeah, I'm running it. It I had scheduled it one time, but it was great. It was really great. And so I'm following the energy and I'm running it again. So the next one is March 27th. Yeah, I have another one
Okay,
coming
so
up.
if you're listening in real time, March 27th is the next one. And is somebody available to purchase it as a recording after? Do you have that option for them?
Yeah, there will be both. You can join live and then there's also recording. So if you can't join
Okay.
live or if you
And you
want to.
can also join Mary's newsletter and follow her podcast because she'll share, and follow her on all the platforms to make sure that you're receiving it if that resonates. Okay, so mind body. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
how do you see the body? And I also would like, if you're okay with it, share your story of how you found how healing can come easily to us. You can share crazy
Yeah.
here, so you can share
Okay.
that story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But really, the body, what do you believe about the body and the mind, body, and spirit connection and how you see it?
Yeah. So we're very connected. Our mind, body, and spirit are all connected. We're all here living together, right? What happens a lot of the times, and in this human experience, in my opinion, is that we're really operating a lot from the mind. It's just an everyday, day-to-day thing. And the I think part of the goal of this game is to get out of the mind and back into the body because that's where you really connect. Now, the body is speaking to you all the time. And I think this is what people really miss about the body. It's speaking to you all the time. It's giving you clues as to what it agrees with and what it doesn't. What you're really, meant to be doing or not meant to be doing, right? It's like those instincts of you get a bad feeling about something, you can't explain why, so you don't do it, and then something tragic happens and say, oh, wow, good thing I didn't do that, right? Like your body it has this instinct to it. So but a lot of times we dismiss it and we wait until we get sick with something. And actually, I'll share quickly like when things broke down for me with corporate, when I eventually decided to leave, it was because I woke up one morning with so much pain in my mouth. Like I felt like all of my teeth were going to fall out. And I woke up and I thought, what is happening? I literally ran to the mirror and I was like, are my teeth there? They hurt so bad. Like, what's going on? And I had to call the dentist for an emergency appointment. Who has to do that? I had never done that before. And I went in, and it turns out that I was grinding my teeth basically at night. But and it's caused by stress. But I was grinding so much that like it put so much pressure on the teeth that they felt like they were cracking. So that was eventually my point. So like your body will tell you if things are really not working to kind of push you to do something else. If you really pay attention to it, right? And if you accept it as like, okay, I'm paying attention now and now we'll do something else. So that was like one of my first realizations with the body of like, oh, actually, it's speaking to you all the time and you have to really pay attention. Now, the other part comes with healing. And this is what I think you were alluding to. And one of my crazy stories, but I love it. You can also heal a lot of things. So a lot of emotions, your emotions can be stored in your body. There's lots of books about this. Um, The Body Keeps the Score is a good one, like talking about trauma and all the things that live in the body. Um, if you can release them, then you can empty out. And basically, that for me, that's how you connect more deeply with your soul. It's like, okay, let's empty all of this stuff out and really become this vessel to be able to connect more with source, right? So part of that is also healing things. And I had a deep, deep, deep fear of heights for basically my whole life without a story or an experience in this lifetime of why, right? I didn't have like, something happened that then made me scared of heights. I was just always very scared of heights. Well, I started to have these experiences and I thought to myself, I really want to change this. I want to heal this. I'm tired of this. And it was actually before Egypt. Before Egypt, it was my goal because in
Hot
Egypt we
air
were going to do a
balloon.
hot air balloon. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I want to go on that hot air balloon. And, but there was no way I could have gone it was a paralyzing fear of heights, right? So earlier that year when we started, like we had the Egypt prep calls and everything, and I kind of put it out to myself, like, I want to heal this. And I eventually came to a point where I had a dream. I had this incredible, I would say it was more like a lucid dream. It was a whole experience because it felt so real. And I was, let's say I was like climbing up this huge ladder and this huge rickety ladder. And then I was going to fall. And somehow I realized in the dream that I could fall, but I could slow myself down before I hit the bottom. And it was like this whole thing with like playing with speed and heights and all of this. And so I jumped off and I slowed myself down and I landed softly on my feet and I was like, "Oh, okay, that was fine. That was good. I can do that. No big deal." And I woke up and I was like, "I think I just healed my fear of heights." Like, what? But I didn't have something to test it with, right? Like I couldn't just go outside and be like, okay, let me go find something really high to climb on or something. So my first test was actually in Egypt with the hot air balloon. And because we were on the same hot air balloon. So I went up in the hot air balloon and I'm telling you, I felt nothing. It was wild. Nothing. And I used to get scared from just walking up steps that had like, little holes in them where you could see down to the ground, that kind of thing. And yeah, so now I say I healed my fear of heights through a dream, which for me I consider a beautiful gift and a much easier way to go about it in a way than a lot of other things. Like I didn't have to relive it or try to, because there's different ways you can heal things, right? And I didn't have to try to relive something scary in order to do this. I had this dream instead. So that's the part about the, you know, being easy. I think when we set an intention to try to have things be easy or welcoming it in the easiest way possible, the universe can really deliver on that. It's wild.
Yeah, I think the belief that life has to be difficult, healing has to be difficult and painful and take time, and there's only one way to do something. The beliefs is what creates our experiences, our reality. So, I mean, you're nodding, but like you and I talk about this all the time. Oh, there it is. I caught another one. Okay, I can change this belief. I can change my reality because
Yeah.
ultimately our reality is reflecting back to us what's inside. It's like it's projecting it out. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love that you were given the way that you speak about it, that it was a gift. I love that you were given this gift and this opportunity and an opening for other healing to happen in this form as well. Welcoming the easy, welcoming the gentle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think a lot of times too, people can think like it has to be hard because it's almost like you're proving something by it being hard, and then you have this like badge of honor
badge of
because
honor, I
you
was gonna say. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I'm not saying, oh, you guys, if you're wearing this badge of honor, I've been there, done that. We all
Yep.
subscribe to that way of being at some point, right? Until we were like, actually, why? Why am I doing this? Oh,
Yeah.
therein feeding the ego, more feeding the beast.
Yeah.
Dissolve, dissolve. Purity, purity of mind, body, spirit. So that I could hold more, so that I could be a vessel and a vehicle for more. Okay, another thing I wanted to touch on, bring to the table. You and I both have this practice that we love is going for walks, and that our connection and clarity, it's like the clouds part and the angels come when we go for walks. And like a lot of the time we record messages to each other while we're on walks, because that's when we're like, oh my gosh, that's a aha moment. I can't believe I allowed myself to be, thinking and overthinking in this thing. And then I went for a walk and everything cleared and everything. So if you could touch, like, what do your walks mean to you? Why you go for walks? And yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if someone were to ask me what's the single most transformational thing you've done with your life, I would probably say go for daily walks.
Same.
And it's like the simplest, like not complicated, not anything, like it's free. It's easy, it's simple like in so many ways, and it's the most transformative because it's you and the earth. Like, and so for me, and I know we exchange voice memos, and I don't listen to music. I don't listen to podcasts or things usually when I'm walking. It's more like really my time to connect. And I feel much more connected because now I'm on these walks. But I actually started them from a conversation from a council I joined, and the the person leading the council was talking about, are you grateful for what you have in your life? And take he originally said I think 3 minutes, but he said even if you only had 1 minute, but he said take a walk for 3 minutes a day and just list all of the things that you're grateful for. Everything. If you can't find things to say for 3 minutes a day, then you know, try harder because there's plenty to be grateful for, right? Like just the fact that we can go for a walk is a beautiful thing, right? So I literally started walking by setting a timer and going outside. This is how technical I am sometimes. Setting a timer, going outside and being, okay, I'm going to walk for at least the 3 minutes. And I would just kind of walk around, just right around my little development area at first. And then I expanded and I was like, okay, I can do this more. And then I would go for longer and longer till eventually my body got so used to it that if I skipped a day, it was like, what's missing? Why am I so pissed off today? Oh, I didn't go for my walk because it was the time. I mean, it is the time for me to center and ground myself and get rid of all the stuff in my head and really just take a minute to really be present and connect. And I mean, because you do walks too, it's so transformative. And so now my walks are like, more like an hour. And still my family knows like, oh, everyone knows I have to go for my walk. And it's just a part of my day. I've gone in the rain and it doesn't snow much here, but I've gone out in all different types of climate. And seasonally it changes. Like in the summer, I have to go really early in the morning because then it gets too hot. In the winter, it's more towards midday, so it's warmer. But whatever you have to do, kind of thing. It was eventually my mentality. And I think, yeah, if I could tell anyone anything, if you want to feel more connected to yourself, more connected to source, more connected to your purpose and who you are and all of these things, start walking in nature because it will happen.
And it's free.
It's
It's free.
free.
Like you're like, it's free. Yeah, I find that for me, it really started with my broken arm. I
Mm,
couldn't do anything else. Well, it started before then, but like really, really, really. And sometimes I'll go on 3 walks a day. Sometimes my
yeah.
husband will say, let's go for a walk. And I'll go with him and I'll be like, I'm gonna go by myself after we're done.
Same.
Because like
Same.
that still didn't do what it was meant to do. Sometimes, like you, I don't listen to music and I just allow myself to be, to wander, to be present, to like, and sometimes I'll cry because a flower is so beautiful, or because like I just walk past plumeria here in Dubai and it smells so divinely, and it's that gratitude. But a lot of the time I do listen to music, to like medicine music, to spiritual music, mantras,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And I find that it also helps a lot with integration of anything that like landed in your body, or that you got a concept in your mind. It allows for it to fully unfold in the body. And I specifically walk extra, and like after a trip. or something, or
Yeah.
like after having, like if you had an argument with someone or like you feel something negative about someone, if you walk and you allow like that to move through you, you'll suddenly have clarity and a different perspective a lot of the time, right? And then you start like feeling like, oh my gosh, this is like suddenly my soul stepping forward and taking over because the mind let go. Because it was, the mind is so strong. And it's, yeah, I think walking is the best kept secret that, people do yoga and all the things, but walking, earth is calling us back.
Yeah.
And like you don't need to sit and meditate under a tree for 20 minutes. Go for go for a walk. And like now also I walk and I don't just, swing my arms. I like allow my arms to do these crazy circles and figure eights and like touching the plants and the, just and sometimes I go and sit on a bench and I allow the energy to integrate and I record the voice message when sitting and walking. I can't forget this. I have to share this. Mary, I had this aha moment. I can't believe it. Yeah, that's how people ask, how do things come to you? It's a lot of the time when we're driving, when we're in the shower, when we're walking.
Yeah. You need to give yourself the spaciousness. And especially now, we are so inundated with so much noise with everything, right? Everywhere. And really, when you give yourself the spaciousness, it opens up so much more, so much more.
Mhm. So you live in France, American living in France, like
Yeah.
Emily in Paris, sort of, but in Lyon,
Yeah, sort of, but minus all of the fashion and all of the things.
and a lot of unconsciousness and all the things.
Yeah.
Um, plus the kids and
Yeah.
the husband. What has that been like, that transition to being an expat in a country where English is not, I live in Dubai, English is the primary language spoken here. You live in
Mhm.
France. What has that been like?
Yeah, it took me a while. We've been here 3 years now, and so my husband, I mean, you know, but for listeners, my husband is French, so we always kind of thought it could be a possibility to come here. But he lived in the US with me for a long time. And yeah, so we moved here, and it's definitely an adjustment. I would say in a lot of ways, I let's see. I mean, my husband's a native French speaker. My girls are both bilingual. We did one parent, one language at home, the Opal philosophy for raising bilingual kids. And so we moved here and I mean, all three of them spoke fluent French and my girls pass as natives. So I'm the one left that's, you know, not a fluent French speaker and I have an American accent when I speak and all of the things. It was another test and another invitation to be vulnerable and experience life in a different way and be humble about it all, right? And just I did speak French already and I had my French citizenship. So I had like a average level, but it's of course different when you move somewhere and then you have to speak locally. And we're outside of Lyon, so we're in what's considered here a village. And so they don't speak English at the bakery or at any of the stores or anything. If you go into Lyon, they will a little bit more, but generally they don't. And so in the beginning, every interaction felt very stressful for me. Like the whole first year, because it's like, are they going to understand me? Am I going to know how to respond like to the second or third thing they ask? Those kinds of things. And eventually with time it got easier. I think for any big move and when you're going to a different culture and a different language and all these things, it takes time and you have to really be kind to yourself in the process because there's a lot that my emotions felt like really all over the place for a while until I really settled. But now, yeah, it's so much different and I'm much more comfortable. Still, I have times when people can't fully understand me, but I feel much more comfortable with it all. And I know I'm here for different reasons. I've really opened up a lot spiritually and energetically since being here. And I think part of it is the lands and being here. It was part of probably my life path in a way. So yeah, it's a very it gave me a different appreciation also for anyone anywhere that moves from their home country and really tries to settle somewhere new. And language is a big thing because if you can't express yourself, it feels very like debilitating, you know? Um, so yeah, it was definitely a big transformation that showed me a lot of myself and my family because I'm navigating helping them all adjust. Even my husband had to adjust because he hadn't really lived in France as an adult. So it's very different when you grow up somewhere, but then you come back as an adult with family, with two kids, and you have to navigate the systems in a different way. So it was a big growth period for all of us. But I do love it. I love being here and I love the energy of it and the spaciousness I feel from it. And it's been great.
Thank you for sharing that. I think we've talked about that before, how France has been really good for you in creating that spaciousness, but also shifting the perspective of like what's important in life because they do have a different lifestyle. Like truly, it's a different set of priorities, a different way of doing things. And when you are like you could have gone two ways, right? You could have said, no, I choose to stay the way that I was without allowing this experience to mold me into something that does belong here and flow with this and exist this, this the same way that everyone here does. Or I could choose to remain, to remain the unyielding. Yeah. And thank you for saying the piece about being kind to yourself, because I think you are a beautiful example of that. And you remind me often of that because for me, a lot of the time I'll hear the voice, whether it's my dad's voice or somebody else's or my own voice, right? That's
Yeah.
that's like that dictator, the commander, the judge, that like that is constantly standing with a stick over me. And you remind me of that. So thank you for bringing that to the your message of be kinder, be gentler to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, of
Mm.
course, because it's honestly, I think it's a big hurdle for people to pass. When you do, your life is just so much better when you can really remember to be kind. And it's so hard because we have so much programming from so many things, from childhood, from society, from all of the things, but it's so important. It's so important because how you speak to yourself is a big part of how you are your experience in navigating life,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question that I ask my guests. There was, I think, for a practice, you shared walking. Is there another practice you would like to share with the listeners of something that can help them on their journeys of whether it's calming the mind, connecting to the body? Is there something you'd like to share?
Yeah, so the other practice for me, the I would say there's two like very transformative practices that I've experienced. The one is walking and the other one is body tapping. And so really I have I there's videos on YouTube. I can give you a couple links if you want to share them with people, but really just tap there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can just tap everywhere on your body or you can tap, it's called dungeon tapping, which is basically like two fingers below the belly button and you kind of rhythmically tap that area and still breathing consciously and with intention of releasing things as you tap. It's been a really great experience for me. It's something that really helps to, if you do it for a while, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes is amazing because you can really, it's another way to get out of the mind and really connect back with your body. It's just it's incredible for releasing for releasing stored emotions, for releasing whatever you've been like worrying about in some way or overthinking on. It's like you just concentrate on the tapping and it dissolves and it releases and it goes away. Yeah. That for
Yes,
me is a
please. We'll link
big
some
thing.
videos in the
Okay.
show notes because you hear tapping and sometimes people think it's the like EFT,
EFT, yeah.
and it's not
Mm-mm.
that at all. It's
No.
completely different. And with practices, I find that we need to get as much of this out there, right? Like no gatekeeping, just getting it all out there because something that works for you is not going to work for me. Something that I'm obsessed with, you're not going to resonate with. So,
Yep.
and we need more of these tools. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for yeah, for sharing that. And yeah, how can people work with you, Mary, besides the workshop? What do you offer? What do you do?
So I do human design readings, of course. We spoke about those earlier. And my main work is through one on one containers. So, really, a reading, something like a human design reading, will help to give you an idea of where you stand with things in your life. The one on one coaching, guiding, mentorship container is really working through what does all this mean? How do you make your life work for you? How do you bring more joy back in? How do you find systems and ways of working again that work for you, right? Because one it's not a one size fits all approach. That's my big thing. And so, yeah, I offer these containers. They are a year long and really transformative and powerful for people to really step into that next version of themselves and choose to do life a different way because it's possible. And my hope is that more people do that over time, just like yours. More people awaken, more people embrace their fullness and their gifts to be able to support themselves and their loved ones in a different way. So, yeah, I mainly work from those one-on-one containers and I'm on all the platforms if anyone has questions about any of it, but that's my
We will link
favorite
all
way.
of your things in show notes. Yeah, and I also wanted to add that I think one of your I don't know if it's spoken or unspoken, it's the transitions piece that you are people who are in transitions in life and whatever it is has just always been a theme of your work that you attract those people, you know it, you're like you don't shy away from it, that it's the yeah, it's helping people navigate to the other side when it's unknown. It's connecting them to the body, it's giving them their own, empowering them. And yeah, I
Yeah,
think you do
yeah,
that so
exactly.
beautifully.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a great point. Whether it's, I mean, I've done all the big changes, leaving
Yeah.
corporate, moving to another country, like completely changing my lifestyle. And yeah, I'm passionate in those areas to help others. It is a theme for me somehow. So
Yeah, you're not even when you were retelling the story, I was like, oh my gosh, my gateway into all things spirituality was a product business as well. It was following my creativity. It
yeah,
was it was doing that. And my big wake up call came as a severe burnout where I fell down, hit my head, got a concussion, and still got up and drove to the post office because I was, crazy and only disconnected and all the things. So it's how like now looking back, I'm like, oh wow, our stories are so similar. And I know a lot of the listeners are gonna be like, oh yeah, that's me too. Maybe not the product business, maybe for somebody it is, but like there's so many similarities because we truly are just reflecting to each other and we're all just yeah. parts of one whole, one big human family, one colorful full spectrum of the rainbow spirit bunch that are here on earth, experiencing life, traveling together. Yeah, all the things. Well, Mary, this was an absolute joy to have you here. I'm sure it won't be the last time that you're on here. And if you enjoyed listening, please subscribe to Mary's newsletter, follow her on social media, listen to her podcast. She is a wealth of wisdom that she shares freely. So please follow along her journey. And yeah, she's a wonderful human, and I think you're going to love having more of Mary in your day to day with her voice and her posts, and hopefully a book out soon. Please.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming.
It's on its way. Thank you, Kat. Thank you so much for this. I mean, we talk all the time, but I love
Yeah.
talking to you and I appreciate being here with you and on your podcast.
And thank you, dear listeners. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe and reach out either via email or DM me on Instagram. Much love, and until next time.